Encuentro Espiritual English, we have been providing you with the series Healing is Possible. Now we're going to add an extra, and it is that starting on Monday, November 6th at 8:30 in the morning for 7 weeks, we are going to be offering a bilingual meditation on healing. It's really a meditation focused on affirmations of healing to help you restore your health. So I hope you can make it. It will be through Zoom, and there's more information on our website, unitycoml.org events. We look forward to having you and really expand on this consciousness of healing is possible. Namaste. Hello, hello, and please be welcome to Encuentro Espiritual English. We are Unity Community of Light, Unity Comunidad de Luz, a bilingual virtual ministry, Unity Ministry that is fully engaged and committed on bringing the magic of the Unity principles to you, so that you may transform and thrive as we are meant to. I am RevAna, and I'm here with
future Reverend Oswaldo Mora
and with
Reverend Julie Johnson.
And as you may know, we have been engaged fully in this series called Healing is Possible. All throughout this time, we are talking about an amazing story from Julie's perspective or Julie's experience in addressing and overcoming and transcending a gene-based disease of her dearest daughter, Leslie. If this is the first time that you're here, please let it be the first of many. If you have already been part of the other transmissions and shows or programs, thank you for being back. You may refer to our channel if you would like to review what we've been doing. Today we're going to talk about an aspect of Julie's work that led to the full remission of her daughter Leslie of this cystic fibrosis condition. And the principle that she so well used was the technique or the approach of acting as if. Meaning, many of us engage in prayer work, in affirming spiritual truth, with a sense of expectancy that the work we're doing is going to somehow lead to some manifestation. However, in the process, if our action is not in alignment with that we are affirming, it's really a blockage. And I would love, before we get into how this was portrayed in your experience, I would like a general comment on both of you on this concept of act as if. And I don't know why, I'm sensing that it's coming from here.
It's because love is in the air. Act as if, in my experience, is the only way to create miracles. Because if I wait until I see it, doesn't work like that in terms of stepping into the unknown. You see, everything is connected. If I want to experience what is the unknown has for me, I have to act as if. Because that way, in this universe, everything is there, but we are not programmed to
Potential.
see it. Exactly, it's already there. So, if I want to see it, I have to believe it. And even though Jesus said to Thomas, it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to want to see it, it's okay to want proof of this. But remember that understanding is just one power, and we have other 11 powers. And of course, faith plus understanding creates the comprehensive faith that gives me the capacity of go through this without proof, and act as if it's exactly like that. It's I don't need to see it to believe it, because I know deep in my heart that is there, because I am already into the unknown.
So what I'm gathering is that what you're saying is believe to see, and I think that what we're saying also is like believe to see, but then act in alignment with all of that. Julie, give us an example of how you were able to act as if through this journey with Leslie.
Like you said, believe first and then act as if you actually saw that healing. That it's coming, just like that the dawn is going to be there every day. You have to know that that's coming. And I realized that I had been working for 1.5 years with Leslie, but I reached the point where I thought, I'm not really acting as if, because she is in an oxygen tent 4 to 5 hours every day. And in order to put her in that oxygen tent, I had convinced her that she was a very sick little girl. And of course, I had bought the idea that she was very sick as well. So one day I was inspired with the thought, you have to take her out of that oxygen tent so she could start breathing on her own if you really believe that this is possible, which was acting as if. But it was a very scary thing, because when I first suggested it to her, she said, no, Mommy, thank you for suggesting that, but I do not want to leave my oxygen tent. So I knew that I had to give her time to be convinced. And so I started working on her by telling her, honey, you don't need that. You're really not that sick. You don't need that tent anymore. Why don't we cut it down to 2 hours a day? And she would say, no, I want it just the way it is, because I really feel like I can breathe well in there. And so it took about 6 months to just constantly suggest and then reduce her time so that she would spend less time in there, until we got it down to about 1 hour a day. And then I knew, okay, now I had to make sure that if I jumped ship, she didn't drown. So I was really convinced that I had to wait until she said, yes, Mommy, I'm ready to give this up. I told her how she was perfectly healthy, that healthy children didn't sleep in oxygen tents, that she could be outside with her friends, that she didn't inherit any kind of a disease that I was mistaken, I thought that she had. And so I had to totally convince her that I believed that differently too. And so one day we finally took that deep jump. And in order to do that, she started to cough a lot, really bad, when I took her out. And rather than be frightened, I just stayed with her. I slept with her every night for 3 weeks after we took her out of the tent, holding her little hand and convincing her that she was God's perfect creation, therefore she wasn't sick. And all the time she's saying to me, well, Mommy, I just don't feel good. And I would say, you're just like your brothers. Your brothers are perfect, and so are you. And I'll stay here with you, don't worry. And I'd hold her little hand until she'd cough herself to sleep. And I noticed that by the 2nd week, she was coughing less, but she was still wanting me right there with her every single day and every single night. And after 3 weeks, she was coughing less so that I could put her in her own bed. And if she coughed, I'd get up and go sit with her and talk to her. And pretty soon, the coughing just got less and less until it stopped completely. And I knew that she had been, we had finally attracted a remission, a spontaneous remission for Leslie. And she lived perfectly normal life for 43 more years.
And Julie, have a question besides getting goosebumps all over my body. I almost felt that I was there, as you're describing the experience. I just felt connected to that moment. Had Leslie said to you earlier, I'm ready to get out of here, do you think you were already ready to, or was it that you both needed to go through that journey of affirmative prayer and just really knowing deeper and deeper and deeper about Leslie's wholeness and perfection?
I feel like at the time that I suggested she leave the oxygen tent, I knew that healing was possible, but that I had to totally have her consciousness with me 100%. And as long as she felt like she couldn't live without the oxygen tent, the healing wouldn't happen. So it was my job to live it, act as if, totally, so that she would see that she didn't need that oxygen tent. And when she finally felt it, that she trusted me. And when she felt that I wouldn't let her die, that I knew for sure that she would be healed if she left that oxygen tent behind, then she was willing to try it.
So another thought that comes to mind is when we are praying for another person, our consciousness matters, because we're either seeing the person as defective or weak or sick, or we see it in their innate perfection and wholeness. So it does matter, but it matters to the person himself or herself in the consciousness. I have a question for the group. Can we support someone else's healing because of the power of our own consciousness and our prayer work, even if the other person isn't there? Or does it happen, or do both have to be at the unison in order for the healing to take place? We'd love to get a reaction from Oswaldo first, and then you.
When I offer to you my hand, I'm giving you myself to you. And if I'm offering my hand to you, is also we need the correspondence for you to hold my hand. So then we become one. In Hawaiian shamanism, Ho'oponopono is exactly that. It's whatever is causing this illness in your body, it comes from me too. So, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. That's how Ho'oponopono works. If I see that you have that problem, that's your issue,
right, and nothing's happening here.
You will see, I can do something for you. I can say, God, remember Luis has a problem, do something for him. But as if I really want to create an impact, it's not if I want, if I'm operating from my heart, I know that whatever he's experiencing is I have to connect with that. So, but you know what? I'm listening, Julie, about Leslie, and of course I cannot make another thing more than put me in her shoes. And I imagine one of my kids in that situation. And I said, oh my gosh, this is taking risks. It's like Jesus telling Peter, come, walk with me over the waters. Mm-hmm. So it really has, we must feel that spiritual divine connection, and of course act as if in order to get there. Because it has an extra value when I see that I can help somebody else, but in terms of helping my son, my daughter, it's like a whole
different story.
Yes, yeah. And that make this more powerful. Mm-hmm. And I really, really, really see you in that impact of Ho'oponopono really, really working like that.
So let me see if I got what you're saying. Well, you're saying that there's really no separation, that whatever you're holding for the other, at some level it's in you. And then I'm thinking of you, Julie, that even though you were not manifesting the illness, but you did have an illness of the soul.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you were both wounded at some level.
Right.
And as you were raising and healing and finding love and finding God and finding light, it's like pulling her up. But anyways, wanted to get your reaction about...
Well, that's a good point, because I was wounded and I was healed before she was healed, because my wounding had changed completely to absolute... I mean, there was no doubt in my mind when I took her out of that oxygen tent that she was going to be healed. Now, I wasn't attached to the outcome, so I didn't have any idea how it would happen. I didn't know if it would be an instant flash that would happen or how it would happen, but I surrendered to that, to letting it be okay, that I didn't know how it was going to happen. But I knew that one of the things that had to happen was that I had to convince her that she was whole. Because now I was convinced that she was whole and perfect, but she wasn't. She still wanted to be in that tent. And so until she got to the point where she really believed that she was whole, now we were ready to co-create a miracle. And that's how I feel it happened.
And I think it's really important that we all become aware that as we engage in being in alignment with action and the truth we're holding, that even though there might be a sense of expectancy that healing is around the corner, that there's also balance with the non-attachment part, right?
Yes.
It's like, we're expecting it's going to happen, and it's like a frantic prayer. We're holding truth, but we're surrendered. And I think it's really important that in any of our prayer work that we detach, because we in the bigger picture we really never know, but it doesn't mean that we're going to stop doing our prayers or stop holding what we know is true. And I think you modeled that perfectly.
And we don't have to know exactly the level of healing. I wasn't totally convinced that she would have a spontaneous remission. I thought that she was going to be much better, and that she was going to be able to survive without that tent, and that life would be more normal, and we would be more like the boys. And that's what I wanted. I wanted her and the boys and me to live a normal life, and it wasn't normal to have a child in an oxygen tent.
Right.
So. But you always get, and it's been my experience since then, that I always get more than I ask for, I always am surprised that Spirit brings in more than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's like, I like that for myself to have seen it, how God always exceeds
exactly
what our expectation is, especially if we are faithful to the work.
And that is because we hold in our mind very little information about how big this can be. So I always say to my kids, you just make sure that you know the what, because the universe will provide the how.
Exactly.
So don't focus on how it's going to be, at what time it's going to come.
Yeah, that comes from control.
Yeah. So that's you see, that's what I'm seeing here in the case of Julie and Leslie, that Julie knew the what, and whatever comes and whoever it takes is just that's the how is not in my hands. So then of course you're going to see bigger things.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I do have to admit that my whole lifestyle changed, because I was single and I was very attractive, and my girlfriends and I would go to the bars every Friday night to meet men, and sometimes we'd have 5 drinks sitting in front of us from men who sent us drinks, and we'd dance with them and so on and so forth. And one day, as I'm working on my process, I didn't want to go anymore. It's not that it was a sin or anything, it's just that there was something in me
Resonance,
that you just wasn't interested in. And my girlfriends were really upset because I'm the personality. And they would say, no, we don't meet anybody when you're not there. We need your personality there with us. But I realized, it's not something I want to do anymore. It's not something that I'm trying to give up or that I'm thinking I'll be a better person. I just wasn't interested in doing that. That was how the process started. I started changing without realizing I was changing. I just found that things that were so exciting before no longer interested me, because the only thing that really interested me was having Leslie be as normal as possible.
And I wonder, Julie, obviously your level of consciousness was going upward and upward and upward, resonating with more love. The faith was really, you truly had the certainty that our nature is of wholeness, that's who we are in truth. How do you think, for people who are watching, what would you say was the key factor in bringing you to the space? Was it your conversations with Alice, the practitioner, your meditation practice, or prayer, or a combination of all of that? What would you say to someone who might be in a situation in which they really want to express healing and they feel trapped where they're at?
I would say for me it was a decision to do whatever it took, whatever my teacher told me to do, to move into a space where that was possible. I even though I didn't at first even believe all the things she told me I had to do, but I made the decision that that's what I wanted. I decided, and then I was willing to do whatever it took to make it happen.
And then she would give you like affirmations and stuff
Yes.
to read, and probably share miraculous examples of others. So you're really like retraining your mind.
Every time she saw me, she would say, "Julie, did you extend love today or multiply fear?" And every time I went to bed at night, I'd lie there and I'd say, "Did I extend love today or did I multiply fear?" And if I would remember things that multiplied fear, I would change them and say it differently before I fell asleep at night.
So there was a lot of insight and about how am I resonating, how am I speaking, how am I acting. You started realizing through the work the importance of being in alignment with your higher self or with truth.
Yes,
And if you took a little detour, you would come back.
exactly. And what I want people to know is that I wasn't a minister then. I was an agnostic that wasn't even sure I believed in God when this whole thing started for me. So because people say, well, you were a minister, you knew exactly what to do.
Right.
But I was willing, like, I've always been the kind of person that if you give me a recipe, I will follow it. I follow directions if you write them down for me to the letter. I never changed them. So when she gave me this recipe,
you were like, okay, step number one,
exactly.
step number two.
And I found that step one would lead me to step two easily. It wasn't an effort, when I started changing my consciousness to consciousness of love instead of fear, that then it would lead me. I remember once that one of my students, I was a high school teacher, and one of my students was very rude to me. And instead of kicking him out of the room, as I ordinarily would do, and sending him to the principal, I just said to him, "Why would you say that to me? Have I ever spoken to you that way?" And he felt so much love. He said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Johnson," and he was really sweet. And he sat down, and that was a totally different reaction than I would have had ordinarily.
I don't know why it came to mind. How do you, if you know, you might not know, but how do you think Alice, the practitioner, was able to develop that level of consciousness?
Alice spent meditation and read for hours every day. She was really immersed in what she believed, and she walked her talk. And that's what impressed me when I saw how she really walked her talk. She wasn't just coming out of her head, she was coming from her heart.
And it probably...
The thing is that Alice did the connection with you, so Alice saw that as saw you and Leslie as one with her.
Yes, she did.
Otherwise, she won't be guided to tell you the things that she was telling you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now I'm seeing that Alice, in her consciousness, she had no doubt either.
No, no.
So you had that anchor there sitting like next to you, and as you flip flop or as you deviate or whatever, I'm holding truth here.
Yes.
And when we do that, we are sustaining others when they can't just see it for themselves.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
And then you build that level, and then you pass it on to Leslie.
Right.
And this is all consciousness work.
It is. And I have to say that if I didn't in my heart totally feel that she was walking her talk,
You wouldn't
that
have, right.
I wouldn't have submitted my life to her. But I was so convinced that she did walk her talk that I was willing to do whatever she would tell me to do.
And it just tells you how many light workers are out there in the world that maybe have not become famous or that are not known by many, but still have changed lives. And at this very moment, I want to honor that lady because her consciousness, and I'm getting goosebumps, is still felt today.
Exactly. Yes.
And we honor her, and we honor you, and we honor Leslie, for you are all giving us a very powerful story that can inspire us to really open up to possibilities that otherwise won't be there. And that's why, as you see, Julie wrote the story with all the juicy details in this book, Women Who Take Your Breath Away. This is available in Amazon. Anything you would like to share as we're almost closing the dialogue on the book? It took you a while, right?
Well, yes, I tried to write. She went on her deathbed. She said, "Mama, please write the book," because we had talked about writing a book about her life. And I said yes, and I love to write, so I tried, and I couldn't do it. It was just a galvanizing pain in my gut that I couldn't do it. And then I tried the next year and the next year. It took 7 years before I could do it. And even the 7 years, it hurt to do it. I cried through most of this book, but I was able to do it. And I felt like I had lived the promise that I gave her, because I told her on her deathbed, I will write the book about our life together because for 50 years I walked hand in hand with her through the disease, and people telling her that it was incurable and all of the stuff that she had to live with.
What a huge soul contract they did, right? I'm going to be sick and you're going to be my healer, and we're both going to grow and expand and make a difference in the world.
And way into her 40s, she was still saying, I may have cystic fibrosis, because all the doctors convinced her she still had it. But cystic fibrosis does not have me.
And she was such a bubbly personality, and alive and happy and creative.
She had a wonderful life.
She had
and
a
I'm
wonderful,
grateful for
yes.
This is the kind of impact that resonates, and the vibration is still around. So whoever is ready to transform just have to connect to that, because it's there.
It's there.
That is what Jesus said, is I may not be here, but my words, it will be last forever. So that's the expression that we're talking about: love, power, and especially surrender to the divinity.
And I say, for those people who doctors say this is incurable, it cannot be cured, and you have a spontaneous remission and you're feeling like none of the effects of that disease, just say to yourself, I may have, whatever they say, I may have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. Because you don't have to let it take you. You can let it be there and have it not affect you in any way.
Yeah, it's what in Unity we say relative truth. Yeah, I might have a cancer diagnosis, but in the absolute truth, I am whole, I am perfect, I am free. What a great place to end our dialogue today. Would love to remind everybody that we highly encourage for you to just contemplate this concept through the week. And then next week, we'll be back with some ideas of truth in the forms of affirmations, culminating with a guided meditation that revolves around the idea of act as if, which is one of the approaches that Julie used in the process of co-creating perfect health for her beloved daughter, Leslie. Thank you so much for being here today, and you too, and see you next week. Namaste.
Namaste.
Unity COML, Unity Comunidad de Luz, Community of Light. It's a ministry of love, big commitment to help everyone who's ready explore principles of truth that can really bring healing, prosperity, and all the good that God always has in store for each one of us. If you feel truly in your heart that we are serving you, and that you feel that you are expanding in every way and would love to give back and make sure that others are benefited just as well, we highly encourage you to donate. Do a love offering based on the love, appreciation, gratitude, and joy that you are receiving from the source to transform your life. Visit us at unitycoml.org and do what is yours to do from that place that knows that there's abundance for all.
As always say, asking is giving, and that's how we support our ministry, your needs, our help, and everything goes together.
Divine love through you, through us, blesses and multiplies all that we are, all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. And so it is.
So it is.
Amen. During Encuentro Espiritual English, we have been providing you with the series Healing is Possible. Now we're going to add an extra. And it is that starting on Monday, November 6th at 8:30 in the morning for 7 weeks, we are going to be offering a bilingual meditation on healing. It's really a meditation focused on affirmations of healing to help you restore your health. So I hope you can make it. It will be through Zoom, and there's more information on our website, unitycoml.org events. We look forward to having you and really expand on this consciousness of healing is possible. Namaste.